Hey Eddie, thank you so much for welcoming everyone into another exciting webinar here as always. Today's topic it's all about options for dealing with debt. This is a really interesting topic, and we have a great presenter today that's going to be going over in depth with and giving you with all of the tools and resources that we do as always here at the credit union. And with that, again, I just wanted to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming on board and joining us here as always every Wednesday. I will also wanted to wanted to remind everyone that if you have any questions, feel free to submit your questions on the chat or on the Q&A function. Eddie and Carrie will be sorry about that. Eddie and Carrie will be keeping track of the of all of the what's happening on the chat and the Q&A. And as always, it is our commitment to answer every question before we end the webinar. With that being said, I'll go ahead and introduce the panel. You guys are everyone is already familiar with. Eddie from our marketing department. As I mentioned before, he's going to be keeping track of the chat and the Q&A. Also, our very own the queen of content, Carrie Lazar from the marketing department. It's here as well. You guys already know myself. I'm Milton. I'm the membership development officer, and the presenter for this evening is none but our very own Ken Frigley, or membership development analyst. So, with that being said, Kim, go ahead and the floor is yours. So, take it away.
Thank you so much, everybody, and welcome to this week's Wednesday webinar. Thank you again for joining us this evening. We are here to talk about a topic that many people, members, non-members, are curious about, and that is how in the world do we deal with, get out of debt? So let's go ahead and get started. We're so excited that you joined us this evening. Hopefully you've had a great day and a great week so far. So the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about what our agenda items are. First, we're going to talk about a few initial steps to prepare to take to pay off debt. Then we'll talk about actually 5 different options people use to tackle their debt and cover some pros and cons of each of those 5 options. And then finally, we will wrap up with some tips to stay on track. It's so important that we stay on track towards whatever goals we have around dealing with debt. So let's start by taking a look at how to get prepared to pay our debt off. So first, getting a clear understanding of your current financial situation. We all know it can be intimidating or perhaps even scary, but it is really imperative that for your debt-free success, knowing where you currently stand. It also helps us to set clear, realistic goals and helps us to evaluate options confidently. It's important. So the first thing that we recommend is start out by making a list of all income. This includes anything that you can count on to come in consistently. Paycheck, child support if you get child support, Social Security. However you receive money, you're going to need to know how much you actually have to work with each month. We really recommend that you do not include overtime unless it is guaranteed. And most of the time, overtime is not guaranteed or consistent. Or other income that may, vary significantly or be unreliable. inconsistent income, like overtime, and actually, some of us have side hustles, can be used as extra money to reach your goals quicker. But it's best not to be considered as part of your budget. Again, unless it is actually guaranteed. So review, it's important for you to review your checking, your savings account balances, so you know exactly where you currently stand. Next, it's really important to understand where your money is currently going. Review your statements. It is so important that you review your statements. Make a detailed list of all your monthly bills. If you already have a budget, great. You can use that to start this process. But you're going to want to write down a detailed list of all your monthly bills, your payment obligations, as well as anywhere else your money consistently goes to. We all know that we have to buy groceries. We have to get gas in our car. Some of us have childcare, entertainment, going to the movies, going to a concert, going to the ballet, or anything else, anywhere else, subscriptions, magazine subscriptions, or any other expenses that you have. You're going to want to include those. And take a look back over a few months to get an accurate representation of the average amount you spend in each area over time. So some online banking options, and ours does as well, will provide a breakdown by category for you, and it really does make it easier. So take the easiest, less overwhelming process as possible. It's also important to make a list of all the debt you owe. Know who you owe, exactly how much you owe them. Even write down what your current interest rates are, your currently monthly minimum payments. It's important to write all of this down. And if anything is currently past due, you're going to want to write that down. I also encourage you to pull a copy of your credit report. We've gone over this in previous webinars. We recommend at least once a year to pull all 3 credit bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Reviewing your credit report can help you ensure that you've not forgotten anything. So looking and going over, itemizing that credit bureau credit report will actually help you to see if there's anything that you forgot, or if there's anything on there that shouldn't be there. It's really important that you review your credit report. I've already said, that we recommend that you get in the habit of reviewing that at least once a year, and we also recommend that you go to annualcreditreport.com to review your reports. And that way you'll get a free report from all 3 credit bureaus. So that's annualcreditreport.com. That's the one that we recommend. Each person's financial situation is unique. Mine's unique, yours is unique. Taking these steps to get prepared are all important, as they will help you determine which options that we're going to talk about to pay off debt may or may not work for you. Not everything works for everybody. That's why we're giving you 5 different options. And there is no cut and dry solution that is guaranteed to work best for everybody. There's pros, there's always going to be pros, there's always going to be cons to every option that must be weighed out individually based on your unique situation. So I know getting rid of debt can feel, really daunting, and perhaps even impossible, but I'm here to tell you it's not. If you are really goal-oriented and you're determined that you are going to do this, it 100% can be done. It can be hard to know what options are even available to you. That's why we're having this important, even asked for webinar this evening, not to mention the added pressure of trying to determine what is legitimate versus, what's not. So let's move into taking a look at some of the different options that may help becoming debt-free. And I think that's so exciting to hear, debt-free, feel more realistic to you and your unique situation. So tonight we're going to touch on, like I said earlier, 5 main options to get rid of debt. You can do it on your own. We're going to talk about debt consolidation loans. We're going to talk about debt settlement. It's also called debt relief. We're going to talk about bankruptcy, and we're going to talk about debt management plans. So lots of options to choose from. You know, chances are you may have already been trying to pay your debt off on your own, but without a plan, your success may have been limited. If you have money left over in your budget each week, each month, a strategy to pay the debt down may be as simple as increasing the monthly payments. So let's talk about the different options. You know, if this is you, you might want to consider using the debt. It's called the debt snowball method. This is a strategy where you pay off debt in order of the smallest balance that you have to the largest balance that you have. And it helps you gain momentum as you go. It is extremely important to make sure that you always make the minimum payment for all of the debts that you owe. And then put any extra funds towards the smallest account balance. And then once that account is paid off, I mean, how wonderful does that sound? Success relies on you consistently redirecting all the money you were paying towards that debt to the next debt. So we're going from smallest to largest. You paid the smallest, you're going to go to the next one until all the balances are paid in full. This is a really popular option to paying off debt. The debt snowball method, it can be so inspiring as you start making progress. There is no better feeling than paying that extra on the smallest and getting that paid off and literally checking that off your list and moving to the next one. It actually does build, you gain momentum. And you see that snowball growing as debts start getting paid off. You can also consider, here's another one, the debt avalanche method. And this strategy is just the opposite from the debt snowball. You're actually going to allocate enough money to make the minimum payment. Of course, we always say make your minimum payment on each debt, then paying extra on the debt with the highest interest rate. Similar to the snowball, which pays balances off largest to largest, this one is going to be the debt avalanche pays balances off from the highest interest rate to the lowest. And then finally, you could approach each creditor to ask if they can offer any internal hardship programs to help lower interest rates and stop those late fees that continue to snowball, to allow you to try and pay off the debt faster. You want to make sure if you do that and your creditor is open to assisting you, make sure you write down, keep a ledger of who you spoke to, the date, the time that you spoke to them. It's really important to log those conversations just in case you have to deal with someone else the next time, or that person no longer works there. You know, that's really important. As I mentioned earlier, every option has, you know, unique pros and cons, which we'll look at with each option that we discuss this evening. Pros of all 3 of these on your own options are that there is really no financial cost to implement them. You also wouldn't have to apply for anything or be subject to underwriting approval requirements if you chose paying off the debt on your own. Some creditors may need some information from you to determine if they can offer a hardship program, if they're willing to do that, but it's not as in-depth as applying for a loan or anything like that option would be. So in general, if done as intended, these options are will typically have little to no negative impact because they're not pulling your credit. They may even allow you to keep the accounts open. If that is your goal, that's something else you're going to want to discern. If you want to keep those accounts open or actually have them closed to where they're no longer accessible to you. But be sure to ask about this if pursuing a hardship option with an actual creditor. However, there are challenges to tackling debt on your own, including the need for really, really strict self-accountability to follow through, with constant pulls all around to spend your money in other ways than what you're used to. It's so easy if you have extra money at the end of the week or the end of the month to go shopping, to go out to eat. You really have to be very accountable to be able to do the pay off your debt on your own. Something to consider if choosing to reach out for creditor hardship plans may be the time commitment to make those calls, as well as your comfort level. It's never easy reaching out to have these conversations with creditors, but please know, as we are on the other side, as a financial institution employee, that those conversations are really, we are really open. Most creditors are really open for you to be honest and to tell them where you are and what goals you have. And typically they'll support that and give you different options to help you. You're also at the mercy of the willingness of each creditor if they'll even offer you an option, and if it's an option that will last long term to help you to reach your goal. Creditors may also freeze or completely close an account as part of a hardship program as well. That is what is typical with a hardship program. Typically, they will close those accounts, which is not always a bad thing. So for many of us, there's a time when there's not any money left over each month or each week. Increasing payments isn't in the cards for a lot of people who are barely breaking even, or perhaps even running short each month. The good news is there are other options if you fall into this category, and it is okay if you do. Starting with option 2, a debt consolidation loan. And that's something we do offer here at the United States Senate Federal Credit Union. Debt consolidation can come in many different forms. The intent is to borrow money, use that money to pay off other debts. So let's say you have 5 credit cards with large balances, and you, instead of paying those minimum monthly payments each month, which honestly, if the balance is real high, it can take 17 to 20 years to pay those off if you're just making the minimum payment. If you consolidate that into a personal loan, then you have a fixed interest rate and you have a fixed payment and term, meaning when you make that last payment, you're done with that debt. And then have, like I said, one monthly payment back to the lender instead of sending money to multiple different creditors. It's really hard to keep up with if you have fallen into that trap of having more credit cards that have kind of snowballed into a high balance. A consolidation could be an unsecured loan, which we just talked about, a personal loan, which requires no collateral. There are some financial institutions who will take collateral, like car title. They consider that secured, meaning they will pull a value on that vehicle, and some will lend up to sometimes 80% of what that vehicle is worth. And then it's considered a secured loan. So if you default on it, they could come and take your vehicle. So they actually hold the title. Pros of debt consolidation loans include knowing what your monthly payment will be and for how long. I just went over that with you, instead of having all those credit card creditors that you have to pay separately. And the goal of getting a consolidation loan is typically to lock in. Usually the interest rates are a lot lower. and therefore ideally a lower monthly payment than the previous payments combined. Plus you have that fixed term. If you do it for 24 months, 36 months, 48 months, you know exactly, you can put it on your calendar and you can take a big Sharpie and X off the days until you have that paid off. You really can't do that with a credit card. And in this instance, your accounts might not be closed when you pay off balances. That's really going to be up to the lender. And they are going to look at your debt to income ratio to see if you qualify to have those accounts stay open plus that new loan. You definitely want to ask that question, and most lenders will tell you up front, we're willing to do this. However, we are gonna require that you close whatever that debt is. So that's another way, another option to pay off debt. On the flip side, a few things to keep in mind. Since this is a loan, you do typically have to apply and go through complete underwriting, a full underwriting and approval process. So they're going to look at your income, your assets, your employment history, your credit, and the amount of debt compared to your income. We just talked about that. Debt to income ratio will typically be factors taken into, of course, strong consideration for this type of loan. A debt consolidation loan may have a negative impact on credit due to a new inquiry and new account. But if you don't do that real often, it should not be that hard of a hit. And perhaps most importantly, to weigh heavily, if you take a secured loan, you are risking the collateral. And we actually just talked about that. You can also get a home equity. We actually offer home equity loans here as well. If you have a lot of equity in your home, that's another great way to pay off debt. The interest rate usually is a lot lower as well. Like I said, the interest rates are typically better on secured loans because there is less risk to the lender, but it's really important you weigh the risk to yourself simultaneously. So for example, if you use a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit to consolidate your debt, if something happens and you can't keep up with that payment, of course, you all know your home is now at risk for foreclosure. Because the home was used as collateral to secure that loan. So up next, we're going to talk about debt settlement, which can also sometimes be known as, some people call it debt relief. If you have looked on the internet for debt help, most likely you have seen a settlement company ad, or you may even have seen it on TV. Late at night or even on billboards. In general, this is a solution that is typically best used to help someone work on cleaning up debt after it is already in collection. Although it is sometimes used by people for open accounts as well, but typically it's for debt that has already gone into collection. Debt settlement is a negotiation between a creditor and a borrower to pay back a portion, just a portion of an outstanding debt, where the remainder of the debt is actually forgiven. For example, you might owe $5,000 on a debt, and the creditor may agree to a settlement where you would pay $3,500 back to them, and the $1,500 difference would actually be forgiven. I mentioned debt settlement or debt relief companies, but you can also choose to attempt to negotiate a settlement actually on your own. It's up to your creditor's discretion, of course, if they are willing to negotiate and what a settlement offer could actually look like for you. It will typically be much easier if you already have the funds to negotiate and pay immediately. And if the account is already past due, people are often most successful negotiating settlements on collection accounts. Make sure you obtain any settlement offers your creditor agrees to. Make sure they have that in writing for you, and make sure you know how they will report this. It's important to know how they're going to report this on the 3 credit bureaus. So settlement may save you money if you are able to successfully negotiate a lower balance. If you enter into a payment plan or work with a debt settlement company to pay off accounts you are currently paying on, your monthly payment may potentially, and this is the goal, be lower than those current payments, which could significantly help you. Again, settlement can be an option to resolve outstanding collection account balances quicker. And it can be an option to avoid more drastic or last resort options like non-payment or bankruptcy. Two things you always want to try to avoid if possible. But it's also important to keep several things in mind if considering settlement. First, not all creditors are willing to participate in a debt settlement program or negotiate a settlement with you or with a debt settlement company working on your behalf. If you are including accounts that are still open and active in a debt settlement program, those accounts typically fall past due if you work with a debt settlement company. Typically, the debt settlement program they actually hang on to your payment. You pay them until a certain balance is reached in your account with them. And then at that point, they reach out to a creditor and attempt to negotiate a settlement. So things have really gotten way past due. It's up to the creditor discretion if they agree to negotiate or not. So there's a lot to think about here. In the meantime, credit card accounts will fall past due as no payments will typically be made until that settlement company has gotten enough money from you and has accumulated enough to offer a settlement to them. As this happens, the accounts most likely will close. Additional late fees and interest will accrue. And most likely you will start receiving phone calls from collectors because your creditors are typically left in the dark during this actual process. As those payments start falling past due and balances increase with interest and fees, this can lead to a negative impact on your credit score, as those are the two largest factors impacting it. If the accounts fall far enough past due, the creditor may send it to collections and or pursue legal action to attempt to collect the balance owed. If you are pursuing a debt settlement, you really need to pay close attention to any mail that you receive. Don't ignore your mail, and take immediate action on any legal notices or court summons. And while we know that upfront negotiating a settlement balance sounds like a good way to save money, working with a settlement company will lead to them you will be charged fees by them. Plus, as we have discussed, you will have additional fees and interest charged on past due balances. And if the creditor does not agree to negotiate, you'll be on the hook for that entire higher balance. So again, we are just giving you options. For some people, they have no choice but to do this option. Finally, if a creditor does negotiate a settlement, there may be tax liability on the portion you weren't required to pay, as the IRS considers this a form of income, believe it or not. So we highly recommend that you always speak to a tax professional advisor if you're considering settlement, to get a clear understanding of potential tax liability. So again, there's a time and a place that debt settlement makes sense, especially if you are trying to resolve some old collection accounts. You're finally at the point where, yes, I need to clean up my credit report. I'm ready to, in the next year or two, purchase a house. That's when this is good for you. But a lot of people are not made aware of what they are actually signing up for. And that's why we kind of wanted to bring it to light this evening in this webinar. So that is, again, one of the options. So now we're at option number 4, as you can see by the slide that's in front of you, and that is bankruptcy. It is a legal process through which people who cannot repay debts to creditors may seek relief from some or all of their debts. Although, you can file a bankruptcy without an attorney, it is typically never recommended. Typically, this should be reserved as a last resort. Filing bankruptcy should always be a last resort option after exploring all other options due to the significant impact it can have. There are two main types of personal bankruptcy, if you're not aware. A Chapter 7, which does typically still require repayment. So Chapter 7 typically will still require you to make those payments through the court of all or a portion of the debt owed. There is a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which typically allows debts to be discharged without requiring repayment. Talking with an attorney can help you understand which you may be eligible for. Many bankruptcy attorneys will offer a free initial consultation just to help you get some clarity on what filing bankruptcy may look like to you. Again, last resort. Again, there are pros and cons here. A pro would be that filing bankruptcy may be able to stop adverse action, including things like garnishment, repossession, foreclosure. But again, absolutely, we recommend that you seek legal advice if this is something you are actually facing. Bankruptcy may also stop collection calls and provide you with some relief there as well. Depending on the terms of the bankruptcy, you may end up paying out less to creditors than you would with other options. However, there are upfront expenses involved as well. Typically, filing a bankruptcy involves attorney. You do have to pay attorney and court fees. That does come out of your pocket. So really weigh this carefully, especially if they are pursuing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, as you have these additional fees on top of still Chapter 13. Remember, you're still repaying some or all of your debt. Your income and assets may have an impact on your ability to file and have debts discharged. Again, an attorney is the one who will be able to explain all of this if this is the situation that you're in and the only option that you have left. Not all forms of debt are able to be included and or be discharged in a bankruptcy. It can stay in your credit report for up to 10 years, impacting your ability to obtain future credit and the cost of obtaining any credit. It's not impossible to rebuild credit. Here in the credit union, we've seen it happen time and time again. There are people who did not have a choice, and they were able to rebuild their credit and end up with a good credit score. It's just a real process. It's just a real long process. But again, it is an option if that is where you are. Again, we always want to say it's important to weigh out, especially in the instance of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy that would typically still require debt repayment. Definitely want to weigh out if that, is worthwhile exploring for you. For our final option, we'll discuss debt management plans. You may have heard of debt management plans. This is probably the least known option of the 5, so we saved it for last. And since it's one that not a lot of people are aware of, we wanted to make sure that you learn about it this evening. So debt management plans are typically for unsecured debt, like credit cards, collection accounts, medical bills, and in some cases, payday or personal loans. And if there's anyone on this call that has never had a payday loan, we highly recommend that you never do, ever. So U.S. Senate Federal Credit Union, we actually partner with a nonprofit credit counseling agency. If you've been on our webinars previously, they are called GreenPath. They are just financial wellness advisors who really care about our members. They are kind, they are considerate, They will talk you through whatever option is best for you, and they will help you to feel that these options are so realistic and can help you to move forward, rather than you just ignoring it and it just snowballing into something worse than you ever thought. Through a debt management plan, GreenPath, they actually they create a structured repayment plan to pay the debt off in full, and they reach out to your creditors on your behalf to potentially get lower interest rates, things like waived late fees. As you send money to GreenPath, they send each creditor a payment on your behalf every month. So your payments are being made. GreenPath is not a debt management plan that's going to hold on to those payments, and your payments get way behind, get reported to the credit bureaus, and those fees and interest actually continue to add to your balance. This is different, like I was just saying, from a debt settlement program, because GreenPath does not negotiate the balances themselves. It's really a great way, even if you're not ready for a debt management plan, but you just need to do a budget and get yourself back on track. GreenPath is, you can have a free consultation with GreenPath since you are a credit union member. Excellent opportunity to talk to them, no matter which direction you're planning to go in. Looking at the pros of a debt management plan, there are no minimum credit scores or approval requirements like there would be with the loans that we talked about previously. Another key benefit is that the debt management plan is typically structured to pay the full debt balances owed within 3 to 5 years at the most. Remember earlier when I was talking about credit cards, depending on your balance, if you're just making the minimum payment, it can take 17 years or longer to pay that off in full. So this is a 3 to 5 year at the most paying that debt off. A debt management plan also offers the benefits of getting money to one place. You actually make a deposit to GreenPath, which is we actually partner with them, and then they distribute that payment for you to your creditors on your behalf every month. So this makes it easier for you than juggling multiple payments and due dates. Helps you to get back on track. And finally, one of the biggest pros of the debt management plan with GreenPath is what creditors are able to offer through it. Every creditor has different terms they can offer, so it will vary from creditor to creditor, but many are able to offer significantly reduced interest rates, which leads to lower monthly payments required, as less needs to go to keeping up with interest charges while still being able to pay it off within 5 years at the most, like we talked about earlier. As with all other options we've discussed, there are some important things to weigh and keep in mind, including the fact that on a debt management plan, the creditor will close the accounts included. They will be closed, but that could be a real benefit to you if you may be tempted to, use that line of credit, that card, and end up with another high balance that is hard to pay. Having the card closed is definitely a pro. However, if your goal is to become debt-free and not ever get back into debt, not having access to those credit cards, like I said earlier, is a very good thing. When those cards do all close at once, this can lead to an initial negative impact. We want to be completely transparent and honest with you on this webinar, on this call, on your credit. So if you've had something open for a really long time, if you close it, it can impact your credit score. If accounts have already started to fall past due, your credit score is already going to be impacted or maxed out. You have more than likely already seen that negative impact, and it can only go up from there. That's the good news. It can only go up from there. As balances are paid off more aggressively and positive payment history builds, Many people who use a debt management plan to pay off debt see their credit score increase over the life of the program. So we're talking 3 to 5 years at the most. You are going to see some real success with your credit score going up, and you may be at the point where your financial dreams can come true and you can come to the credit union, you can apply for that mortgage that you've always wanted and be in the home of your dreams. GreenPath will absolutely talk in more detail about what this may look like for your specific credit situation and help you develop a plan. They will sit with you and talk you through this, help you rebuild your credit score as soon as possible. Even if you're not in a situation where you need to pay off a lot of debt, but you need some help increasing your credit score and you're not sure how to do that, GreenPath can also help you with that as well. I also want to clarify that while many creditors, especially major credit card companies, would officially agree to work with a debt management plan, some may not. I mean, it's just a fact. Some might not, but will still typically accept payment and post them towards your balance. So they would still accept the payment from that debt management plan. And finally, while having a conversation about the best options for you to tackle your debt, we do want you to be aware that there is typically a small setup and monthly maintenance fee associated with enrolling on a debt management for those who choose to do so. It is not much, and it is well worth it, very much well worth it. Those fees are regulated typically by state law and vary from state to state, but are typically based on the amount of the debt included and would not exceed $75. So like I said, very, very reasonable. Typically, any fee for the debt management plan is significantly outweighed by the savings obtained through the creditor concessions. And GreenPath will talk this through with you as well in detail if you're considering this option to make sure it is a win for you. GreenPath is not going to do anything that's not going to help support your goals and your financial future. I can promise you that. So I know I just threw a whole lot of information at you. I hope at least one of these options has captured your attention and feels like it may be a realistic option for you. My name again is Kim Fridley, and you can always call our 202 number, choose option 7. You can just say my name and you will get straight to me, and I'm happy to go over more of this in a private phone call with you if you have other questions. I know it can be a sensitive topic, but I promise you, if you decide to do it, the success is overwhelmingly exciting. So let's talk about some tips for you to stay on track. It is really important that that we stay on track. The first of which is being able to develop that budget, that spending plan. That's the first thing you want to do. So tips to stay on track: develop that budget. It's a budget is just, really a plan of knowing where your money, we talked about this earlier, where your money is going, and is designed to help you keep track of making sure your money is going to the places you want it to be going to help you reach those financial goals that you have. Having and sticking to those goals, a budget will be key to your success of paying off debt. If you have it written down and it is right in front of you, put it on the refrigerator, put it on your bathroom mirror. It will keep you heading in the direction that you want to reach that goal. It's also important to track your spending. This is hard. If you really track every single solitary thing you spend, I can say for myself, that's not easy. But it certainly is going to help you stay on track with your budget and your financial goals. And there's various ways to do this. The cash envelope system, I've done that before. You have the envelope, you have a pencil and paper, you have spreadsheets, you put on each envelope. So this envelope, this cash is for groceries. This envelope, this is for the mortgage. This envelope's for the car payment. This is for going out to eat once a week or once a month. And once those envelopes are empty, you're done. You're done. You might have to eat, a bologna sandwich, which is okay, or make a meal at home. But the envelope system, I've done it before. It works. It really does. I also encourage you to have savings available to fall back on in an emergency. If you go out to eat once a week or you go out to eat once a month, but you don't have any resources in your savings, if something were to break down in your home, use that money, start making meals at home and use that money to at least get, I'm going to say at least $1,000 into your savings account. We actually offer other savings accounts that you can name. You can call it household savings. I actually have several, and I allocate my funds into those, and that's what I use. So I have an emergency savings account, and I don't touch that. I don't touch that unless the HVAC goes out, or my refrigerator breaks, or the oven stops working, things like that. And as we all know, everything is increasing monetarily. So it's always good. You got to have some kind of resource in your savings account. So you also want to look for opportunities to reduce expenses and to bring more money in, which the purpose of putting those extra funds towards paying off debt quicker. So remember, cutting out expenses that are considered more of a luxury, or picking up, extra shifts or side gigs, isn't forever. It's a temporary sacrifice to help you reach your goal quicker. And finally, the biggest tip that we have to stay on track: know the why. Know your why. Know why you are doing this. Set clear goals. Share it with your family. If you have more people in your home that actually, help to create that balance, that debt, sit down with them. Put sticky notes on the refrigerator. Put sticky notes on the cabinets, on the bathroom mirrors. Make sure that your goals are realistic and attainable. Have smaller goals and milestones within your large goals, and then celebrate those goals, either alone or with whoever you're sharing your goals with, and know what you are working towards. Have a plan for how you can realistically get there, because there's no doubt in my mind you can do this. And like I said, celebrate your victories. You always want to celebrate your victories at every step of the way. So setting those small goals, reaching it, celebrate. It's so important to keep you moving forward. So just want to share GreenPath with you. It's a nationwide nonprofit that provides financial education tools. They actually have budget documents, sheets that they'll send to you that you can fill out yourself. Just a fabulous company to work with. They truly are all about the credit union mission of people helping people, and they would love to help you. It's free, it's confidential, and if you want to know more, we would absolutely love to give you someone to speak to. So that is our webinar for this evening, options for dealing with debt. Again, I really hope that it was beneficial to you. I hope you gained something out of it. And if you have questions, hopefully you have already asked them in the chat, and we are here to answer those for you. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for that amazing presentation, Kim. I personally am thankful because I learned so many new tips that I should apply in my, personal finances. And I know many of the attendees on the chat are being grateful and, showing support that this webinar was very helpful to them as well. So thank you very much for that. And if you want to keep hearing that beautiful voice that you just heard in the presentation, just call our 800 number or 202 number. And what option is that? Option 7, and you will be able to talk to Kim freely. But without wasting any more time, we want to get right into the questions, because as you all know, that's our commitment, to read every comment and every question that you might have. So that first question for anybody on the panel is, because we have such professional people, in our webinars each and every Wednesday. When you do a debt consolidated loan, is that counted against you? And do you lose your credit card as a result? Anybody can answer that.
Thanks, Eddie. That's a great question. And Kim, I guess I'll take it for you. I know you did an amazing presentation. But whenever you do a debt consolidation loan, there will be an inquiry to your credit whenever you do. In essence, you're applying for a loan. And what's going to happen is you will provide all of the accounts that you want to pay off and combine it into one single payment. And what's going to happen is that we will send out those payments on your behalf, and pay off, whatever balances it is that you have, obviously depending on how much you are approved for that particular loan. However, with that being said, you are not required to close out those loans, or if you're paying off credit cards, you can leave them open. And so with that, you can leave those credit card opens. Highly encourage you that, if you don't need that particular credit card, you're more than welcome to close it. And I think I saw another question related to that. And it's, I believe it's around whether closing a credit card, if that's going to hurt your credit. And the answer is yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is because it truly depends on the length. However long you have had a credit card for instance, if you happen to open a credit card in the last 2 years, and you max it out, and the interest rate is really high, and you also are doing the same thing with the credit card you have for the last 10 years, and you're paying both of those credit cards, my advice would be, keep one of those two opens. And the one you want to keep is the one that has the most credit history. So the one that you have had for the last 10 years is the one that you definitely want to keep, because you want something to be open that has a long-standing history with your credit. Something that's been open for less than that amount of time will have an impact, but it will not be as significant as something that has been there with you for a longer period of time. I hope that answers that question, and I tried to answer the other one that I also saw there in the chat, Eddie. So with that being said, let's see what other questions we have.
Shout outs to Milton. He's always multitasking, as we can see. He killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So thank you very much, Milton, for doing that. Another question, and I think this has to do with when Kim was referring to, when they place a lien against a vehicle, in case you're not making your payments and things like that. So how can they hold the title, place a lien against it if it belongs to the bank that financed the vehicle?
So that would not be a title that you could use for collateral until it is paid off and there's no lien on that title. As it currently stands, if you have a car loan, a car payment, and you owe a financial institution, that car title already has a lien. So you would have to wait till you paid that off for that title to become collateral again.
I'm talking about collateral and using our own personal items, for, situations like this one. Is a home equity loan a second mortgage, and does that require a refinance?
It's an excellent question. And a home equity loan, it could be a second mortgage, but it can also be a first mortgage. And it truly is, it depends. If you already paid off your mortgage, then when you apply for a home equity, it will become a first lien. However, if you're like most everyone that has had a mortgage loan in the last less than 30 years, and then you still have a mortgage, then your home equity will become a second lien. So and in order to get a home equity, you do not need to refinance. Home equity loan is treated separately than a mortgage loan. So in essence, we will just go ahead and do a loan based on the equity that you have gained on your property, and depending on the amount that you're looking to get, we will be able to lend you, whether it is up to 80% or 90%, depending on your credit worthiness. And based on that, we will determine if you still have a balance on the property, then we will go in and on a second lien. If it's already paid off, then it will become a first lien.
That was a great explanation. I really like that a lot, especially coming from, the home equity department back in my days. That one really touched home. So thank you, Milton, for explaining that. Now, for emergency savings, what is the recommended amount? How do you build up to that level? So in your personal experience, or, a financial perspective, what would be recommended for an amount for a financial saving, or for an emergency savings, I should say?
and I'm sorry, I will jump on this one. Kim, you can take the next one. For emergency savings, there's a rule that says that you have to have at least 3 months of savings in the event that your job, your employment is impacted. So it's always recommended that you at least you're prepared for at least 3 months in the event of an emergency. So whether it's, you lose something happens, something drastic, you lose your employment. So having at least 3 months to fall back can really get you through that, what we call a rough time. And so, that would be the ideal situation. Obviously, we understand that, that could be a little bit challenging, especially for those that are, mostly paycheck to paycheck. But one of the things that I actually encourage everyone to do, most employers nowadays that allow you to, for those that have direct deposit, they allow you to split your checks. And so my advice would be, if you can set up a separate account where you don't have a lot of contact with it, or you're not always looking and see what's in there, and just set in a small amount of money, whether it's a percentage or a dollar figure, and send something small to that account every month or every pay period, and just forget that it exists. And by doing that, you'll be surprised as to what you can accomplish when you are automatically taking the money before it hits your main account. Because oftentimes, if you have your direct deposit going into one main account, the odds are you being tempted of using those, all the money that you're receiving into certain things that perhaps are not really needed, is very likely. So again, our advice is always to go ahead and set a small percentage, or one, heck, what I do myself is I actually send $100 to the savings accounts that I have that I don't touch. I don't I just pretend that it doesn't exist, but I know that I'm sending $100 to that every time I get paid. So that would be a tip that I would like to provide, and try to have at least 3 months of income that you will receive as an emergency for anything.
All right, perfect. So everybody remember the three fingers, the number 3. That's the number that Milton is recommending for emergency savings. And of course, let's not forget option 7 if you want to talk to Kim as well. Now I have another question as well before I pass it on to Carrie, because I think I'm reading all the questions. I want to make sure she's active as well. I think I lost it. Here it is. If a credit card is within the debt consolidation, how does it display on your credit report?
So if you are working with a debt consolidation company, and you do agree to the terms and the conditions, it will appear on that credit as you are working with a debt management plan. It will actually say it. I hope that answered that question. Nothing else is shown. It just shows that you are working with a debt consolidation company.
Kim, you always go above and beyond, so don't ever doubt your answers. You are such an expert on this matter, so we appreciate you. Carrie, you're that content queen and Q&A expert. So what's on the Q&A?
Thank you for keeping me active, Eddie. Okay, so just a comment, and then I want to follow that one up with a question. But somebody shared that American Express does not help their regard at all. I mean, in waiving late payments or working with you if you call them, which I believe that. No payment plans, no rate reductions. Which that made me think of they get reported to the credit bureau, right, Kim? Because I know when I had student loan debt and all kinds of other debt, even maybe possibly a repoed car in my later teens. But when I got a credit card and they reported to the credit bureau every month, and when I paid that off, my credit score was raising. Is that a thing? That's a thing, right, Kim?
That's right. I would highly recommend that you call us, that you get rid of American Express. If they are not willing, you are their customer. And they should absolutely work with you in times of need. I know we do here at the credit union. So you could, if you're in a situation where you could transfer that balance to a United States Senate Federal Credit Union credit card and close the American Express, or again, a consolidation loan, a personal loan to pay off that debt and transfer it to a personal loan to have a set payment, a set term would also help you as well. Highly recommend that. If that, I don't have an American Express, so I have no idea how they work with their customers, but it doesn't sound to me like that is a company that I would personally want to deal with.
I also Googled their late payment is $40, and that's the max they can charge by law, is what they said. What the thing
I'd love to know what their interest rates are on their cards. I don't know if anybody has that or knows and can put that in the chat, but
it's
I'm
24.
sure ours is 24. Okay, yeah, definitely need to switch.
Yes.
I recommend switching.
Because I know we talked about this at a previous webinar. Our Smart Rewards credit card rate is less than half of that. Right now
right.
It's 14 something, and the max that a credit union could charge by law, right, Milton, is 18%. So if a credit card charges 18%, that's a lot, and they're charging the very max where we would still charge under. Okay, so that's really, we have one more question in the chat box, which I know it is free, but can you elaborate? GreenPath is a free resource, right, Kim? Or is there fees for when they set up the debt management plan, or do you know?
So GreenPath is a free consultation. You can call GreenPath. You can work with a financial advisor to try to find the best solution for whatever your need is. If you choose the debt consolidation program, there could be a small minimal fee, no more than $75.
And I'm sure they would disclose all of that before setting.
Absolutely. That free consultation is your opportunity to ask all those questions. And even if you don't ask that question, they are going to give you a detailed summary of what they can do to help you, including any type of fee.
They have great members give great feedback on that service. And the people there, when we say kind and caring, we're not kidding. The representatives we work with, anybody I've met from GreenPath is just so great and kind and very helpful, and they really believe what they're doing. But that looks about all. One about emergency savings, all our emergency. Okay, so all our emergency savings are at the credit union, and I don't touch it, but the returns on that are not terrific. Thinking I should have some CDs. So
yes, yeah, right now is the time. I believe the 1-year CD is, help me out, you guys, I think it's 5%.
I think the 36-month is paying the highest right now.
Okay.
36.
So just think, as little as 1 year, you know how time flies. Make the most out of the money that you have on deposit. Even if you had to take a portion, you do have to keep, it is a minimum balance of $1,000, but if you had a $5,000 CD and your refrigerator broke and you needed $800, we will allow you to just take that $800, and you're only penalized, and it's very minimal on if you have to break that $800 before the maturity date. So highly recommend putting your money in that or in a money market. Even the money market rate is much higher than the regular savings account.
Thank you, Kim. And then, can I open a CD online?
So you cannot at this point. That is something we are working diligently on. We have a project in place to allow our members to do that. However, you can call 202-224-2967, choose option 7, say Kim Fridley. I open CDs all day, every day, and I can do that real quickly for you. So please, if you don't get me, leave a message. I'll call you back just as soon as I'm finished helping the member that I'm currently helping. Call me.
Option 7.
One
Seven.
other option for certificates and online opening that we are starting to talk about more is like, and you can do this to open it now, is just to use the conversations feature within online banking. If you have your My USSFCU accounts, online banking account set up, if you go to messages, you can email one of the representatives. And what I did to open mine, and it's easier than opening it with an online platform, is if you're using money from the credit union, I said, Denise, that was the representative I was talking to, said, hey, Denise, can I open and I told her the term, it was 2-year term certificate using the money from my primary savings account to fund it. And she was able to say, yes, and then can get you to confirm those details over conversation. And then she just transferred the money for me and attached the disclosure in all the documents in the conversation. So that was even easier than online.
Excellent.
Okay, sorry, take it up all the time. Okay, and last question is about getting a copy of the recording and a copy of the slides. So I will send out the slides in a little bit, and then the recording will be available on our website. It usually takes, my boss edits the recordings and stuff, and it takes him a couple days, and I can't really hound him, you know, he's my boss, I can't, but I'll tell him that this one's important and ask him if he can do it relatively quickly, and we'll get it up there in a couple days.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Kim.
Yes.
Thank you, Eddie.
Sorry, one last question. Debt consolidation versus personal loan. I think it depends on what the people always want to do, correct? I don't know if one of you wants to elaborate on that.
What was the question again, Eddie?
Debt consolidation versus a personal loan. So I guess that's basically all they say. So I guess it's, I guess which one we recommend, especially us talking about debt. So I think it would depend on the situation and what the, members want to accomplish, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, So it all depends on your situation, and also, I will say, in my experience, I'm sorry, I'm running out of words here. I guess it's already late on a Wednesday, but in my experience, the rate is going to be one of the things that's going to be different between if you were to do a debt consolidation loan with us versus a personal loan. And what it is that the rate is going to be slightly higher with a debt consolidation. And if you do the personal loan, that you might be able to get a little slightly lower interest rate, but you need to justify the reason why you're using those funds. But if you already have a lot of debt, just keep that in mind that it might not qualify you if you're already struggling with other debts, and applying for another personal loan. The odds of that getting approved might be a little slimmer. So if you really need a loan just for it to consolidate all your debt, just be upfront. Just let us know from the get go, so that way, you'll be the odds of you getting approved for a debt consolidation loan versus a personal loan will increase your chances. So hope that answered that question.
And that's it. So Milton, you can say your regards now.
Thank you. Well, no, again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that attended, and all of those that always like to stay with us all the way until the last question is answered. So we truly appreciate your support. Just one quick note for next Wednesday. In lieu of a potential government shutdown, we are here at the credit union. We are doing everything that we can that is going to be within our power to assist all of those impacted. So if you are a federal employee, and if the shutdown really ends up happening over the weekend, then we're going to be doing a special webinar in regards to what the credit union is doing and support to all of those all of the employees affected by the potential government shutdown. So if you have anyone that it's a federal employee that might be impacted, and will be impacted it looks like right now, then I highly encourage you to let them know. invite them to come over to the webinar next Wednesday. We're gonna have a lot of great information. But a quick sneak peek. We do have a loan relief program here at the credit union that we're going to be rolling out in the event that there is a government shutdown. So again, truly want to invite everyone to come in and join us next Wednesday at our normal time. We'll be giving you all the details as to what it is that we're doing here at the credit union, and just know that there's a reason why you are a member with us, and especially for those that are in the federal working for the federal government. We are your credit union for a reason, and we want you to know that we truly value your business, and we're always there with you in the good times and in the bad times. So stay tuned. We look forward to seeing everyone next Wednesday. So with that being said, Kim, great presentation. Thank you so much, Carrie, like always, Eddie, and everyone that joined us. So we'll see you all next Wednesday. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.